What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, me going over a bunch of the older global anniversary festivals and discussing their kits in anticipation for the upcoming new global anniversary you're going to be having at the end of February. And since we're kind of coming up on it, guys, I wanted to start pumping out these global annie videos now that we're kind of getting into the groove of it. If you guys enjoy videos like this, man, definitely make sure to like and subscribe, as your boy Amazing is on the road to the 50,000 subscribers, guys, and we are at the 42,500 right now. Or 43,000, I think. Yeah, we've been cooking. So let's hop in and let's actually go over the global anniversary festivals, guys. I actually have them all pulled up here on the GC database, so let's actually pull it up. We do have the 3 global anniversary festivals for what it is, because I think right now, in terms of global anniversary character releases, these were the only 4 that released around that time. Obviously, you know, the initial global annie or the initial global release was just the game coming out, but the first anniversary character for it was Infinity Merlin, or Loli Merlin, I mean. And then we did have Queen Diane, and then we did have Mayel. Now, for you guys that don't know, each of these characters were super meta changing, and they were all very, very strong characters. And this is definitely why you guys want to know about these characters in anticipation for the upcoming Global Annie Fest, because that character is going to be super insane. And in terms of what we've gotten leaked so far, we kind of already know who it's going to be, but it looks like it's going to be another human character, Chaos Arthur, possibly coming, guys. So let's talk about the 3 characters that we have here. The the Merlin, Daughter of Bella Leon. We also have the Ways of the Earth, Queen Diane, and we have the 4 Archangel, Mile of Sunshine. So the first character here we're going to go over is going to be Merlin. For you guys that don't remember what festival Merlin did, she was a very, very good character on release, because she was the first character that introduced damage cap. So bargaining with the gods is her passive. The hero's damage taken from skills during the enemy's turn does not exceed 40% of max HP. She was the first character in the game to have a damage cap system, and it was just a very, very strong effect at the time, guys. You know, Merlin, back then we didn't even have Tarmiel Link, by the way. Just the 40% damage cap alone was already very, very strong, because it meant that you needed 3 skills at the max to actually kill this character. You could not kill her in 1 skill, it had to be 3. And so yeah, so you cannot exceed 40% of max HP. Increases attack related stats by 1% for every 4% of remaining HP when using skills as well, which is a very strong effect too, because the higher the HP, the more attack related she gets, and that's obviously going to make her deal a ton more damage. So yeah, for her skills here, she had Power Strike Single Target, which at the time was a very, very powerful skill, and even to this day is still a really good skill on a character, right? Additional damage equal to enemy resistance, just a better shatter, right? You know, just having extra free damage for the enemy having good substats is just insane, right? Because the higher their resistance, the more damage you're going to deal. And yeah, so it was 190, 285, 475 single target, which is always very strong. And then moving on to her second skill here, guys, she introduced Infect, and Infect was already on a few characters actually before she released, but it was a thing of, like, you know, when Infinity Merlin came out, this was one of those skills that was just a very, very strong skill. I think this was the first time they released the skill where it had rank 1 Infect as well. I think that was the, you know, kind of the catalyst to, you know, all these other characters releasing after her that had Infect rank 1, you know. Look at characters like the Demon King nowadays. Look at characters like, you know, Ominous Nebula Zeldris. Who else has Infect? Echidna, right? Like, just a bunch of other characters, guys, that took this card, and even with the Demon King situation, just made it better. But yeah, I mean, a very, very strong skill right there. And then her Holy Relic she did get after the fact, but for her Holy Relic, it increases the hero's attack by 20% when attacking a debuffed enemy and applies before skill activation. So she just got the attack as she's attacking enemies that are debuffed, so kind of like a little mini weak point in a way. But yeah, just a very, very good Holy Relic right there. And then our ultimate here, guys, was pretty unique. It inflicted damage equal to 400% of attack on all enemies and created a barrier around all allies equal to 5% of the damage, taking only damage from basic stats and excluding the rupture effect. So pretty much how it would act, it would be like kind of like a Goddess Liz shield. If you guys ever use Goddess Liz shield, the original Goddess Liz, pretty much this Merlin ult, it would ult, and it would make the shield based on the damage you dealt, but it would also give you the shield itself would mean that anytime someone attacked into it, it would not have an effect unless it was a, you know, a rupture effect, right? If it was rupture, it would do the double damage, but if it wasn't rupture, it would be completely block affected pretty much, which was very, very strong at the time too. And yeah, obviously the multiplier scaled up, so 600% at 6 out of 6, and 20% of the damage to the enemies for the barrier, which is very, very good, guys. So yeah, man, that was Loli Merlin right there, man. She was a very, very strong character on her release, and a lot of the things in her kit were kind of given to characters nowadays that, if we really think about it, she was one of the initial characters that brought forward those kind of abilities, right? Like, look at the damage cap, look at, infect rank 1, right? Just very, very strong effects, guys. So yeah, moving on from Merlin, the next global anniversary character, or I guess this is second global annie, was Queen Diane, right? So Queen Diane was another character that did release. Very, very strong character on her release, and till this day is still really good. I mean, look at the, we did get a new Valentine's Queen Diane recently, and she is still a really good character too, but this one was like, on her release, not the craziest character, honestly. I think a lot of people, like, when they initially summoned for her, were like, I'm just gonna kind of summon for her just because she's a festival. She doesn't seem too insane. But the thing is with Queen Diane, guys, is that the moment Red Tarmiel released, this character was another level of broken. Just absolutely stupid with a Red Tarmiel effect. And yeah, let's go over her kit and kind of discuss why she was super strong. So for her passive here, Queens of the Earth, when taking damage from the enemy, increases the hero's damage dealt by 10% up to 50%, combines up to 500,000 damage taken by skills and skill effects, and then increases the damage dealt by 20% of the cumulative amount, and then it decreases allies damage taken by 40% when a stance is active. So a lot of things kind of going on with her passive, but the main things to take away is that she gains up to 50% damage dealt, right, just from taking damage from the enemy, right, which is pretty good. Combining up to 500,000 damage taken by skills and skill effects, and then you get 20% of that as additional damage dealt. So it's kind of worded a little bit weird, but the way it kind of works, guys, is that you would, if you took up to 500k damage, which with Queen Diane and Red Tarmiel Link is definitely possible, you would be able to do 20% of that, meaning you would do, what is that, 100,000 extra damage on most skills. It doesn't actually like fully equate to that, obviously. Like, when attacking into an enemy, it depends on their like substats and like defense stat and all of that, but generally speaking, you're dealing an extra like 100,000 damage on your attacking skills with Queen Diane, which is very, very strong. And then decreasing the allies damage taken by 40% when having a stance active is another strong effect too, because you get just more inherent damage reduction. So yeah, very, very good passive right there. I mean, from the jump. When she did come out, though, we didn't have Red Tarmiel Link, so that was something that we were like, okay, when are we ever going to get the 500k damage taken, though, right? But after Red Tarmiel released, that was something that instantly made this character just absolutely broken. Now, for her first skill here, she had Pulverize. So I think we did have Pulverize in the game before Queen Diane, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure on that, so someone will have to correct me in the comment section below. But yeah, I mean, this was a very good skill. I mean, kind of thinking about it, right? 20% additional damage for each orb in the hero's ultimate move gauge, and it also reduced the enemy's ultimate move by 1 when you had 4 or more in your ultimate move gauge. So pretty much you had a gauge reduction while also having a very strong damage dealing skill, which is very, very good, because Queen Diane had that as like kind of utility whenever she was getting alt rushed on or anything like that. She had the gauge reduction on any rank, by the way, as long as you had 4 or more ultimate move gauge, which is pretty easy to do, right? You just kind of merge up some cards and then boom, you already have 4, right? Very, very strong effect right there. Moving on to her second skill, guys, is going to be the Spinning Hammer, and this is going to be the stance that obviously works in conjunction with her passive here. So for her stance, assumes the stance which taunts enemies and increases HP related stats by 12% for 2 turns on the rank 1, guys. 2-turn stance on rank 1, not really a common thing. I think there was like obviously other stances in the game that do. I think the original green Tank Diane, she had, I think, like a 2-turn one on the rank 1 as well, or it might have been 3, but it was a blue buff stance, not a gray or not a yellow buff stance, right? This one is actually like a stance buff effect, not like a blue buff one, right? So that was obviously a little bit better because it couldn't just like instantly get buff stripped or anything like that. It had to be cancel stance, right? So yeah, and then on the rank 2 here, guys, you got 18% on the HP related for 3 turns, right? So 3-turn stance, and then 3-turn on the rank 3 with 30% HP related, meaning more lifesteal, regeneration rate, all that good stuff, guys. And then as of late, Queen Diane did get a Holy Relic, which, not something that she came out on her initial release, but the Holy Relic was really good too, increasing the damage dealt by allies by 30% for 2 turns when the hero assumes a stance, which, very easy to do. You literally just use the stance card, boom, your allies deal more damage, right? So very, very strong skill right there. And then moving on to her ultimate here, guys, the Quell ultimate. Damage dealt plus 5% per active stance on self. And for the stance effect here, you actually gain 2 things. You have the taunt and you have the HP related. So that's 2 stance effects on the character, and scaling up, it actually goes up to, I think, for the quell damage, I think it goes up to 50% damage, guys, which is very, very strong. And then 570% of the actual damage. And then she actually does heal as well. So restores HP of all allies by 3% of the damage dealt, scaling all the way up to 30% of damage dealt, which is, you know, higher dupes right there can be pretty much a full heal, you know, at the later dupes right there, guys. So yeah, another very influential character in Grand Cross history, guys. Queen Diane was one of those characters that, you know, if you did not have her with Tarmiel Link post Tarmiel releasing, you know, that was something that you were definitely missing out. Moving on to the most latest global anniversary festival that came out last year. This is Mayel of Sunshine, guys, the first light and dark global anniversary festival, because as you guys can see, the previous ones were only always like red, green, and blue. But starting with Mayel, this was the first ever one we got that was a light attribute character, and he was absolutely insane. Until this day, I mean, Mayel is still a relevant character in the game nowadays, guys. So yeah, let's hop in and let's discuss his kit. So for his passive here, Arbiter of Light increases all of the hero's stats by 7% and damage dealt by 10% for each goddess ally on the battlefield. And if all allies on the battlefield are goddesses, applies Brilliance of the Sun on the allies at the start of the battle. Now, Brilliance of the Sun is damage taken minus 20% and immune to stat decrease in PvP. You know how broken that is? Guys, this was one of the most game-changing things, not necessarily for the release of Mayel, but for the game's longevity, right? Like, when we think about PvP now and the Goddess team, we think the fact that they cannot be stat lowered now, no matter what. Anytime a new Goddess character releases alongside Mayel, they cannot be stat lowered till this guy dies, which is really, really insane, because this was already like a super strong character, right? And now he has the fact that he has the stat decrease immunity, making it so that this team is just super, super tanky as well. And this is applied to allies as well, guys. Remember, this is applied to goddesses on the battlefield, right? Very, very good passive right there. Moving on to his first skill, though, he has the Flare card, so inflicts damage, flare damage equal to 200% of attack on one enemy. Flare is going to be 30% damage dealt for every Brilliance of the Sun effect on allies. So yeah, so as long as you have 3 or 4 allies, you're getting either 90 or 120% extra damage dealt, which is really, really good across, you know, both PvP and PvE, you know, because most of the time in PvP you're gonna get like 90%, but in like Nidhogg or like other demonic beast battles, you're getting 120% extra damage dealt on a single target is very, very good. And then moving on, guys, we do have his AoE here, which this was one of the other things with, you know, characters that came out last year, specifically festivals. They had these like 2 kind of like double effect skills, right? So this skill was obviously spike damage equal to 100% of attack on all enemies, and it also applied a Sunspot, which is damage dealt lower by 20% on the enemy. So they deal 20% less damage to you for 2 turns, and then, you know, can be stacked up to 3 times, meaning you can get up to 60% damage dealt less on the enemy, which is kind of insane. You know, the more you stack this up, the more it kind of gets a little crazy how they will deal no damage to your team already, as well, with the fact that you cannot be stat lowered either, guys. So you guys kind of see the synergy here, right? And then moving on to his Grace here, his Grace actually just gave outright damage dealt to anyone you were running this link on. So that was already like another power creep thing where we had, you know, obviously Red Sariel is still really good, but Mayel, if you have 6/6 Mayel, I'm running 6/6 Mayel over Sariel 99% of the time, just because he has more stats, and also the fact that it's just inherent damage dealt. I don't need to crit to get the extra damage dealt, right? Whereas with Sariel, it's like you only get the crit defense lower on the enemy, so you have to be critting, right? For characters that don't crit, Mayel Link is crazy. Like, Freyr really does benefit from this, right? Just a very strong Grace effect. And then, yeah, moving on to the ultimate here, guys. Removes stances from all enemies and applies 1 Sunspot effect for 2 turns. And Sunspot, for you guys that don't know, is going to be, Sunspot explosion damage, is going to be damage dealt plus 50% for every Sunspot applied to the enemy. And you guys remember the Sunspots from the AoE that Mayel did? It's just a damage dealt minus 20%, right? So you can get up to, at 6 out of 6, they become gray, right? So 5 out of 6 to 6 out of 6, they become gray debuffs, meaning that when you apply these Sunspots, right, you can stack up to 6 of them technically, because they're separate. They're not red debuffs like the normal spike card. They, at 5 out of 6 and 6 out of 6, they become gray, which is very, very insane. So 1 to 4 they're red, 5 out of 6 to 6 out of 6 they're gray, which is really, really strong. And then, yeah, so obviously removing the stances, applying these Sunspots, and at higher dupes, guys, remember you apply more Sunspots. So you see right here, at 6 out of 6 you get 3 5 out of 6 you get 2, and then 4 out of 6 you get 2, and then 1 for 1 to 3 at a 6, right? So yeah, there is definitely the scaling right there. And then the damage on the Sunspot Explosion goes up to 50% on the 6 out of 6. So this is one of the hardest hitting ultimates that you can just launch at 6 out of 6, just outright, you know, because you're auto applying the 3 Sunspot at 6 out of 6. They're each dealing an extra 50% extra damage dealt for every Sunspot, and not including any of these Sunspots, because if you use this AoE you get even more. And like, that is just super insane. Like, who is tanking that? You need to be like one of the tankiest characters to be able to tank a My Ultimate like up front, right? It's just a very, very strong card. So yeah, guys, those are the 3 global anniversary festivals we've had in the past, and we are going to be getting one very, very soon. As today I'm recording this video, this is the 20th of February. We're going to be getting the announcement for the global anniversary festival next week. So that is going to be when we get it, and I'm very excited to see what the character is going to be, considering how influential each global anniversary festival was. I'm definitely very curious to see how they'll make the new most likely Chaos Arthur. So we'll definitely talk about it with the next video. I hope you guys did enjoy this video though, going over the previous global anniversary festivals. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Which one do you think was the most influential on their release, and even till now, right? Like, even till now, which one do you think is still like as good as can be, and is just, you know, a really, really good character? Let me know in the comment section below, guys. That's gonna be it for the video, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one, man. Peace out, and have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.